All right. Hello, everyone. We're going to begin our final session for the afternoon. The first thing we're going to start off is with our marketing metric certification, the MMAP, the MMAP, as some of you will refer to it as, for Marketing Metric Accountability Protocol. And I'm going to give a brief, if you will, introduction to this. Well, actually, it won't be too brief because it's got a lot of meat above it. I'm going to talk about how the team has expanded and now is doing these things called proprietary inventory for marketers. And then we can get on to the latest certifications and the corresponding awards. So what is the Marketing Metric Accountability Protocol? Well, it was formed to actually address a very specific issue, which was costly data and supporting algorithm software, and the relationship to return is uncertain. That is, we in marketing, we use a lot of marketing metrics, we use software, we use algorithms, and how do those things actually correspond, and what do they correspond to from an outcome perspective? And so what we wanted to do as MASB was create a certification system where we could persuade metric and software providers to undergo a process or an audit, if you will, though that seems to be a scary term, but it's really not, an audit to achieve certification and populate a catalog of these marketing metrics and software and algorithms. So the key problem here was this. The marketing metric providers, the software providers, the algorithm providers, they have intellectual property. They have invested significant amount of money in doing research and how their systems work and tying that to in-market results. They would like nothing less than to openly share that with marketers, right? But there's a problem there. That intellectual property is also their means to existence. So from a legal standpoint, from a trade secrets protection standpoint, they simply can't open up their books to the marketers. The marketers, on the other hand, they have these. They have their current suppliers and they have future suppliers for different needs. They very much need that information, so they really do want to get this inside view. But oftentimes they don't have a staff to actually conduct a review to begin with, with free time, and so they are really looking for that information. But they're looking at it in a more summary style form. And so where MASB comes in is that we've brought together a team of metric certifiers who actually then take, under NDA, under non-disclosure agreements, work with the marketing metric providers and the software providers and the algorithm providers, work with them so they can open up their books under non-disclosure agreement. The MASB certifiers can go through, verify the claims that are being made. So they write out what they do, how they do it, sample sizes, where they get their data from, the techniques that they use. They go into detail and they open up their books, including operation manuals, to the reviewers. The reviewers then work with them to summarize that in a form that both protects their IP, but allows MASB to come in and verify and say, yes, this is correct, and this is documented here, and show that the documentation exists, but then the documentation doesn't have to be handed over because it's been third-party reviewed by MASB. So that is how we're bridging this gap, where the metric providers, their IP is protected, and the marketers get the confidence that they want and need in the use of those metrics and other items. Does that kind of make sense? So we have done this, and we have our expected outcome from this is more metrics and algorithms helping marketers make better decisions and improve return. Because ultimately, we want things to be measured. I think Joanna would very much agree with that sentiment. We are very much about measurement and ensuring this connection to in-market results. So that's our expected outcome, and we've been, as a team, very successful. This has been ongoing for a decade now. It's improved over time, and in fact, it's growing very rapidly. I'll go over that in a bit. So ultimately, our strategy is to persuade our current vendors to open black boxes, so the marketers' current vendors to open their black boxes, to validate these metrics and algorithms. And we're also welcoming and encouraging new vendors who are willing to learn and do so. So we're actually encouraging from day one that new vendors put in place a research on research type system to collect this type of validation data and other data to do this. So ultimately, we're assist marketers in establishing those reports and dashboards that monitor and maximize marketing return. So they can have confidence in those metrics, and guess what metrics are the ones that are going to make it into that top level of the dashboards? It's the ones that have been validated. It's the ones that have gone through and proven themselves. Which then brings another question forward, which is all these organizations have many, many dashboards. And the question is, can MASB, based on all this experience we gather, help them to streamline those dashboards and to pull out the metrics they really need to be successful? That's an additional product that this team has taken on, and we've been doing that for just over a year now with great results. So let me get into a little bit of the details. So again, we're talking about metric certifications. It's an independent third-party audit which protects the trade secrets and other IP of the measurement provider. But simultaneously, it provides that confidence to the marketers in the third-party metrics they use, especially that link between the marketing metric and business outcomes. And so that one of the unique things about our approach is that that connection to financial outcome is required. So we actually will go through and you'll see that we actually say this is what was demonstrated, this is what's not demonstrated. And so you'll have these dotted lines and solid lines for not demonstrated and demonstrated respectfully when we go through these processes. This way they can see exactly this is theoretically how things work, but has it actually been shown to work accordingly? Metrics certified to date include those from brand tracking, copy testing, brand valuations, marketing mix analysis, customer lifetime value, qualitative, quantitative, social media, and social media optimization. We found that this framework is extremely flexible and can handle all the different types of metrics which are in use. And they're available via the MAP catalog of certified metrics. So if you're a member of MASB, you can actually go out to the website and click on and actually see the reports for each of these providers who have gone through the system. Here is a list of them from the website itself. You'll see some early players like ARS Group and MSW ARS, when MSW has, and MSW Research now, has taken, that's part of their research, and they've actually revised it. So they were one of the earliest groups to participate, and they've continued to update as they've updated their system over time. You can see the brand valuators like Kantar, their MDS framework, Meaningful Different Sailing Framework, along with brand finance on their brand valuation tables. And there's something very unusual going on right now, which is in this group, you can see like Dion, and you can see like Valute Group. Those are two that are that have interesting systems because the Dion is focused on experiential revenue impact calculator. So experiential revenue. So the things we've been talking about, how do you get that to financials, right? And this was something we noted in that ANA MASB study, was that experiential in particular was especially difficult to get good metrics and financial outcome metrics. And that is something that the Dion group has worked on through this experiential revenue impact calculator. And then the Valute group, you'll see a lot in what we're doing in MAP. The Valute group applies those techniques internally within their processes naturally to basically they go through a system of screening and validating and finding the metrics that those marketers need that flexibly address the questions that those marketers have. Shiv will give us more detail on that in a moment. But so experiential is no longer going to be a black box. We are very good at MASB about destroying black boxes and getting transparency into things while still respecting the rights of all the participants involved. Number two I want to talk about is the algorithm and software certifications. So we've been doing the metrics the longest. That's where we started. But now we've been in the algorithm and software because it's only natural. We are living in an age of advanced digital intelligent platforms. They're playing a greater and greater role in how metrics are developed and used. The use part is especially important, especially for optimizing media plans and forecasting business outcomes. We all know the main mechanisms: artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, iterative analysis. These are all things that we see on a daily basis as companies adapt more and more of these techniques and more advanced versions of these techniques. So we took the marketing metric accountability protocol and we expanded that to software and algorithms. So the assessment includes how the software algorithms augment the marketing metrics to provide linkages to business outcomes. So that's a key point. These software packages oftentimes will actually put the marketing metrics, restate them in financial outcome terms, bridging that gap between finance and marketing that we often talk about, but also to other areas like operations and legal, as we were also just having the discussion on. And this does not include a review of the metrics training data going into the system. It's still garbage in, garbage out. So when a system is produced, they will make claims about that system. We will assess those claims about those systems. But in any instance where it is set up and bad information, bad training is done, we will point that out. So we are a neutral third party, so we will definitely point that out. And so, in a situation where you do have a giggle going on, that will be highlighted. So here's a conceptual linkage of that, of where the software and algorithm plays a role. You have, a marketing activity. Those marketing activity is measured by various marketing metrics. Software and algorithms are applied to those marketing metrics, and they will output, or if you will, sometimes forecasting, sometimes in arrears, looking back at history, like market mix modeling will do, will generate what the cash flow drivers would be. Those could be things for the cash flow itself. It could be impact on margin. It could be share change. It could be any number of items that will then flow into cash flow. And then, of course, when you get to cash flow, then you can do all kinds of neat things like brand valuation and other techniques. So, a couple key points about this process. It is a certification. It is not an accreditation. Our certification is independently verified that the claims have been demonstrated by the technique. We require a connection to financial outcome, which is a unique thing about this system, as I mentioned before. But accreditations are a little different. Accreditations require that the technique is consistently performed to an established minimum level. They do not necessarily require a connection to financial outcomes. So basically what we're saying is we're outcome focused and we're claim focused. Are the claims that are being made justified, and do they result in positive outcomes for the users? The accreditation is we have a concept. A good example of that might be viewable impressions. We have viewable impressions. Multiple entities, multiple providers are going to provide, viewable impression data, and they must all do that to a standard which has been established. So there's a minimum level that each of them has to meet, on a definitional basis, that the ad is, at least on the screen for X period of time, for example. And that those entities who put in those systems, that they're actually following that standard. So everyone kind of get the difference between the certification and accreditation? Okay, great. So one of the aspects of this, because we're certification oriented, we can go much more broadly into all kinds of marketing metrics, even those that don't have an industry standard yet established for them. So let's talk about marketer internal metric assessments. We've been doing this for a while, as you saw. We've gone through numerous marketing metrics and requalification of those metrics, changes over time. And this was done with the metric providers. Well, then eventually some marketers came forward and they said, hey, you know what? We have our own metrics. We, as a marketer, the person doing marketing, think of a fast-moving consumer goods or an auto company or what have you. The people who are actually out there doing marketing, they develop internal metrics within their system. And so they started to come to us and say, hey, you know what? We have these homegrown measures, And we would like if you could apply that same methodology to our internal metrics. And so we agreed. The biggest area, of course, started with aggregated social media, customer satisfaction, and derived metrics. Things that, if you've been to other MASB summits, you know have been greatly debated over time, certain types of techniques. And so they had questions about these, about their adaptations to these different techniques. Sometimes these metrics has tenuous research connections to business outcomes. So it was from the exercise we came back and said, look, you know, you don't have research on research showing these outcomes, right? You're making assumptions on how, you know, on that customer journey and how these metrics relate to the ultimate outcome here. And so we could provide them feedback on how to go about doing the research on research to prove it, so they have that evidence internally to take to other decision makers and fight for that metric. In other cases, they've been abandoned, or modified, as the case may be. In response, again, we have made this marketing metric audit protocol available for internal metrics. So if you are in a marketer, you are a marketer, or you know one, I think we all probably do here. Let them know that we are more than willing for MASB that the MAP system is no longer just for those who sell their marketing metric data, in the marketplace. We will do internal analyses. When we do that, there is no recognition that we're doing it. They won't be receiving an award for doing it, and then that will be under a very strict NDA. So this is kind of an interesting thing because we can't really talk about the ones that we've done, but that is a key point for them. So it's tied up for them internally. So it's done in confidence and, of course, obviously not published in the catalog. Then, about a year and a half ago, this problem of swimming in metrics surfaced. This is something MASB had identified, oh, Dave, how long was it when, swimming in metrics was like a MASB term that was every summit there was a presentation on it, the overwhelming number of metrics that marketers have had. Well, those have actually expanded with dashboards, and now you have many, many dashboards coming together. We have in one particular study, we identified over 100 different dashboards that were being used by marketing. Not 100 metrics, 100 dashboards were being used at one particular marketer. And so the marketers actually requested, hey, could you give us assistance in assessing their use of metrics across these areas as used in reports and dashboards? So we create a new customized benchmarking of this that goes through and reviews what they are using and then organizing it, so that all marketing metrics used on dashboards and reports are database and coded according to our proprietary methodology. And because we can do this and we can go through their metrics and look at them and organize them into data sets, then we can start doing, a distribution of the metric, gaps in metrics, replication of metrics where different parts of the organization are using different versions of it, which causes great confusion. And we can do that and come through and say, oh, by the way, this area, this is a really important concept, but you don't have a metric for it. Based on our research, here are some suggestions for you to fill that gap. So the process is really simple. We go through, and this is, by the way, not live data. This is made-up data, so for obvious reasons. But we go through and we look at all those dashboards, which I think the lowest one we've had so far is 37 dashboards. But you have all their dashboards, and you also can have major key reports. You gather all of those, and then we go through, and we actually go through and one by one not certified, but we put them into buckets. Let's put it that way. So we have all their metrics. We talk about what their types are. You'll see things like, for example, financial impact, activity, output, efficiency, so on and so forth. That's our coding system. And then we also look at the underlying concept that they're using, like packaging quality, product quality, brand preference, revenue, a couple different revenue metrics here, share of market, perceived quality, things of this nature. And so we get all those metrics together in the database, and then we bucket them, we put them into it. And we've adopted a 6-bucket structure that has activity and effort metrics, activity output metrics, and efficiency metrics, which collectively we call those enablers. Those are the things you have to do that you're measuring to make sure that you're managing your operations, but they aren't really talking about what's happening with the consumer or the financial impact of them. For example, impressions is an activity output measure. How many impressions did my campaign have? An activity effort might be how many social media posts did we do this quarter? So that would be an effort. It really doesn't do with anything on the output side, but it's like, okay, we've done this many social media points. Activity output, maybe it's this many impressions, or it's this many likes, it's this many views, that side. And then efficiency is where you start getting into a lot of the ratios. So you start looking at, how efficient have we done this? So you might have a social media post per budget, dollar figure. But this so it's all about how efficiently have we delivered that. Or another example might be on reach. It might be how many reach versus frequency analysis on your impressions or your GRPs. That's your efficiency side of it. So how efficiently did we get to our reach goals? Then the next level up is brand association leading indicators. Brand associations are those things like we were talking about when we were getting the brand question. We said, what do you stand for? What do people relate to you? Those type of brand associations, they're structured ones as well. Are you a convenient and easy to use brand? Would be like a structured version of a brand association, for ease of use, convenience. So these are the things that hang that hang onto the brand. They're the things that when we're doing marketing, what we want people to take away, or what they have taken away, even if we didn't want them, is probably a better way of putting that. So those are those. But then there are leading indicators. Leading indicators are the things that predict or move what have the financial impact. So leading indicator, the MASB best example of it, we've done a lot of research on it, is brand preference. Is the consumer's choice out of the competitive set. How you're doing in that goes a long way, especially if you take into account price and distribution, goes a long way to explaining what choices they actually make out there when they're at the shelf, or whatever the occasion is for the acquisition. So leading indicators are higher levels. They move beyond associations into the things that actually drive. And then there's the financial impact. Financial impact are those dollar-related items, if you will, currency-related items, the shares, the revenues, and so on. So these are the enablers, drivers, and outcomes. So we started off with the 6-component structure, but then one of the marketers asked us, hey, can we simplify that even further, into this? And we adopted the enablers, drivers, outcome type of approach to simplify that, especially as these reports go up the chain. In fact, we've had one of our reports actually get presented to the board of directors as a justification of why they needed to invest in their marketing dashboarding, innovation that they were doing. But they always go up to senior manager. Every report that we've done like this has gone up to the senior levels of managers, accordingly, and provides that information because, frankly, everyone wants better dashboards. So that's what we do. The team is actually a very thin team right now. We have Karen Eben of Global Marketing Impact, who was a brand CMO at General Motors and ultimately became their Chief Knowledge Officer. When she retired, she put aside time to lead this team and to work on this team. So she's active daily on this team. It's been something that was near and dear to her heart during her career, and she wanted to share her knowledge accordingly. Alan Coos, who was actually the chief research officer for ARS Group, one of the lead copy testers in the time. And so Alan, when he retired, he actually became executive director of MASB. And then when he retired from executive director of MASB, then he actually said, I want to stay on this team and co-lead the work of this team. We also have Tim Goman of SmartThink, Jerry Nichols of Bottom Line, who helps us especially with the software-related certifications. Dave Stewart is involved and set the ground basis for a lot of this. George Ivey is another individual from MRC who actually, on the accreditation side, the MRC is the lead accreditor for our industry. So George, on the media side, that's George leads that, and he's given a lot of advice to MASB on how to go about these. So he's added a lot of strategic input. And now we actually have another person, but I can't announce it yet because we're going to make an announcement later, joining that team. Then Eric is involved, and I am also involved on this team.
But we do need more real data experts to join the team. So volunteers are welcome.
Yes.
Or suggestions, people you think might be suitable.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going with this, is that we have grown. We are doing a lot of these. Just to give in perspective, we currently have 3 actually going on, and we have 3 more coming up. And so these are time intensive from our side. And we also work at the pace of the provider. So we try to match their schedule. Sometimes they'll go at a slower pace because they're doing their own research on research and they want to include the newest thing they're about to release. But other times it can be very quick, that they want to have a quick assessment so they can get get it out to market and address this particular opportunity. And so if you are interested, or someone you think would be great at doing metric certification type work, please contact Karen, Alan, or me, and we will be happy to talk to them about joining us on this team.